So I'm just going to give a very quick brief overview of safety. This is kind of the Cliff Note version of everything we've been talking about tonight. And then I will delve into the CalFire burn permits and hopefully get you out on time. So safety, I'm just going to cover personal protection equipment one more time, hit key points on weather, talk about our surroundings a little bit, and then give some pointers for calling for help if needed. So with personal protection equipment, everyone needs to be wearing gloves during pile burning. We recommend leather gloves. This is because some of the synthetic material that we have nowadays, those tend to melt rather than burn, and melting material leaves worse injuries than just a burn would be. So we recommend leather gloves. We also recommend those closed-toed shoes, preferably good leather boots. I know John talked about this a little bit. So your hiking boots, work boot type material, stay away from your tennis shoes and your rain boots. Again, those will just kind of melt. Try to wear natural fibered clothing. So this is your wool and your cotton clothing. Again, it comes into that synthetics melt rather than burning. Eye protection, for me, I highly recommend it, but I put optional because as someone who wears glasses, I realize that it's kind of hard to find protection for your eyes while wearing glasses, and then you're wearing two things sometimes and it just becomes a mess. But when I'm pile burning, sometimes you have to get into the smoke and it gets in your eyes and then you can't see what you're doing. So I recommend eye protection. And then hand tools, you're required to have these for pile burning, but you can have your choice of them really. I think the CalFire permit says that you need a shovel, but I also like rakes because you can rake the coals. Just make sure that everything's metal and you don't need any real fancy fire equipment. I know some people have them, but you don't need it. You can go to Ace or any local hardware store and pick up these tools here. Kyle gave a really good presentation on weather and we'll post all the links later. But really just the key takeaways is wind. If it's windy the day of or windy for the next like 3 days after your burn, perhaps think about postponing your burn. You just don't want to have to go catch something 3 days later. And depending on what size of fuel you have, Lenya mentioned that piles can tend to smolder a little bit more. So wind can pick it up and reignite it. And then it wasn't necessarily touched on that much, but extreme heat, we don't really want to burn during extreme heat. Fortunately for California, extreme heat usually happens in the summer months, not during our burning months in the winter. However, if you're like me on the coast, occasionally we get that rare, great day where it's 80 degrees and everyone's like, this is weird. It's January. Perhaps don't burn that day because something's weird's going on with the weather. So that would be my advice there. As for surroundings, John talked about this at the beginning, just kind of watch where you're going to build your piles. Don't put it next to buildings. Don't put it next to trees that you want to keep. Watch where your roads are, that type of thing. And then maintain a presence while burning. This means have an adult on site the entire time that burning is in process. And then let your neighbors know when you're going to burn. The last thing you really want is to have your neighbor look out their window, see flames in your backyard, not know what's going on and call 911 and then fire engines show up. So yeah, just let people know what you're doing. And then get help if you need it. So on the burn day, ask for friends, neighbors, family, get your whole neighborhood out to go burn. Number one, it's way more fun to burn with more people. You can make a day out of it, have a potluck, eat some hot dogs, s'mores, that type of thing. But also if something does happen to go wrong, you have more people there to help correct that wrong. And if something does go wrong, call 911. that's what the fire departments are there for. They're there to help. They want to help, and call them early. I definitely had a situation where I had a pile get away from the 3 of us that were out there. We called early. We didn't know if we were going to catch it. By the time the fire department came, we had it caught, and we're like, thanks for coming, but we caught it. And they said, great, we're going back home. So again, that's their job to come out and help. If it's outside of your scope and range, call for help. So now we're going to shift gears and go into the burn permits. There's kind of 2 different categories of burn permits. There's the CalFire burn permit that we're going to go over today, and then there's other jurisdictions. Other jurisdictions come into play when you are in federal response area or in local response area. Those ones you're going to have to just kind of look up and find out what that permitting process is. And if you don't know which jurisdiction you land in, start with the CalFire permits, because they have a map that will tell you where to go, or where you land on those jurisdictions. So you can find the CalFire burn permits at this burnpermit.fire.ca.gov, and we'll put this link into the email that we'll send out with the recording at the end. And you'll get this webpage popped up with the 3 different boxes: plan, verify, and apply. I like to hit the verify button first, just to check the status of my county for burning, especially if I'm at the beginning of a season or the end of a season. Counties don't always follow each other for what's burning and who's not. So I live in Sonoma County. Sonoma County might not be burning, but Mendocino County might be. So always check your status. And then go ahead and click for apply to get a permit. And you'll take it into step 1. This is the CalFire burn permit application. Everyone in the state needs to have a burn permit now, unlike what Jeff said at the beginning of his presentation. So for all our pile burning, we're going to be in this residential burning box. Everything else is kind of broadcast burning is for prescribed burns, and then agency and ag burning is more for those industrial agricultural landowners, or if you're a county with like ag and open space, that type of stuff. So click on the residential burning, scroll down, you'll hit step 1, which is, or scroll down, and then we go into step 2. You have to watch a 2-minute video that's on there. And then once you've watched the video, you can click the yes box at the bottom, and then click next to go on to step 3. On step 3, you just put in all your information that they ask you for. Make sure that you input your email address correctly, because this is where they're going to send your burn permit to. So once you've inputted all your information, you go to step 4. So this is where you find out whether you're in state responsibility area, federal, or local, is with this map. So in step 4, I'm going to zoom in on the map. You put the dot on where you're going to be doing your burn permit. And so I did an example. I did my office, which is just north of Santa Rosa, and it is in a local responsibility area. So I will need to contact my local fire department, figure out what that process is to get a permit, and go through them. If you are in a federal response area, you will need to go onto the U.S. Forest Service website or contact your local fire department to help you navigate that process there. If you happen to land in the state responsibility, so this greenish yellow color that's throughout the map, you'll put your cursor where your property is, and then into step 5, it'll ask if your address is correct. I unfortunately cut off the address, but they ask you if it's correct. If it is, say yes. If no, because it's a cursor on a map and things get weird, you can click no and manually input your address. It'll ask if your county information is correct and if the burn location and mailing address are the same. If it is, say yes. If no, so this will be for if you have like a PO box or something, then hit no, and then you can input the PO box there. Step 6, this is just a random address that I pulled in order to get through the permit process, but they ask you to review the mailing address and make sure that it's correct. If not, you can go back and fix it. If it is correct, move on to step 7. Step 7 is the application submittal page. And so they will give you this list of rules that you need to read. And then at the bottom of that page, once you've read it all, they'll ask you if this is a cultural burn or not. If it is, check yes. If no, leave it blank. And then you need to put your signature. At the bottom, they're going to ask you if you're signing on behalf of a landowner as a contractor, employee, or an official. If you hit any one of those 3 things, say yes. If you're just regular landowner, click no, and you'll be fine. Before you submit, I recommend writing down your confirmation number, which is down in this paragraph thing down here, but it's also up at the top up here. That way, if you did happen to mistype your email address or something glitched because technology, you can email CalFire at this help desk inquiry and see what happened there. But once you submit, you should be able to have your burn permit in your email inbox within a couple minutes. They do recommend that you check your spam or junk folder because sometimes stuff goes there. I know that we blew through that pretty quickly, but here's the web link again to the burn permits for CalFire. And here's my contact information if you have any questions.